How does poverty affect the educational outcomes of children in the UK? It is apparent that poverty is a prevalent issue in the United Kingdom. The number of people in the country living in poverty is increasing yearly, now with a third of children in the UK living below the poverty line, SAYA 2015. With the rise of childhood poverty and a substantial body of knowledge linking poverty to educational underachievement, Matchin and McNally, UK governments have come to the realisation of the substantial negative impacts poverty has on the education of children and the barrier it creates to the opportunity of equal education. The House of Commons Education and Skills Committee, 2003, page 20, have commented that it is unarguable from the evidence presented that poverty is the biggest single indicator of low educational achievement. Such a negative relationship between the two factors has been shown to be highly influential on one's life course, Parsons 1999, which has caused further concern about the future of children in poverty. The OECD 2001 has found that the UK has one of the highest relationships between poverty and negative educational outcomes affecting job prospects compared to similar countries. For example, only around a quarter of students receiving free school meals gain 5 good GCSEs or equivalent, compared to over half the overall population, which has been proven to lead to higher unemployment rates for the disadvantaged. Kelly, 2006. When seeking to understand why poverty has such adverse effects on the education of children, each of the academic disciplines provide differing explanations regarding the matter due to the various theoretical lenses that can be applied when analysing the subject. This poster examines the link between poor educational outcomes of those in poverty in the UK through a sociological perspective, more specifically following the interactionalist strand of sociology, applying the labelling theory to illustrate the relationship between the two aforementioned subjects. The interactionalist theories are, however, micro-level theories and can be scrutinised as they often face difficulty remaining objective throughout their studies, which indicates a bias within the findings. Additionally, while some people believe one of the theory's greatest strengths is the extremely narrow focus on symbolic interactions, others criticise this as it means that possible alternative explanations for findings are dismissed and unexamined. The labelling theory is one developed by sociologist Becker, 1963, and was originally used as an explanation for crime and deviance. It has, however, since been utilised to explain the differences in educational achievement between the classes, Giddens and Sutton, 2013. Bartlett and Burton, 2012, note that lower-class children below the poverty line will always be ascribed a negative, non-conformitist identity, even prior to any non-conformative act taking place, simply due to their social class. Teachers rely on their stereotypes of those in poverty to label students on how they believe that they will be and already pre-construct and presume their behaviours before considering what the pupil is actually like. Such typical labels, which are often ascribed to children in poverty, have a detrimental effect on teacher interactions with pupils, which consequently impacts upon the quality of education received. Labels of incompetence ultimately result in bigotry low teacher expectations for those pupils, which Marchesi and Martin, 2002, found significantly influences students' results. It means that teachers fail to push and motivate students academically and instead become complacent and simply accept their low levels of work, no 2004. Labels can also affect the level of teaching students receive. A study conducted by Bowler et al. 2000 found that when lower class children were labelled as low ability, they were placed into lower groups, which often meant they were taught lower ability content, communicated with in a simplistic manner, set less challenging work, and entered into lower level exams where their progress was capped. Hence, the negative labels which are ascribed to impoverished children limit their educational abilities and result in them failing to be pushed to their maximum potential, which may explain the achievement gap between children with a low socioeconomic status and the rest of the population. Not only do teachers label children in terms of their academic ability, they are also found to label the behaviour of pupils. While the majority of children are labelled as well-behaved, research shows that poor children tend to contract negative labels such as disruptive, cheeky and naughty, simply as a result of the stereotypes surrounding poor children. Strand and Fletcher, 2014. In his review of research from 2007 to 2017 regarding impoverished children and their school experiences, Atland et al. Reported that many children described frequently being labelled as bad or naughty, although the majority felt this did not reflect them at all. Such studies, however, may be criticised as self-reflection of personal behaviours may be difficult for some children. Hence, where a child may not feel as though they are out of line and deserve a negative label, they may be portraying themselves in a falsely innocent light or failing to admit their wrongs. As with labels of academic ability, behavioural labels can also determine the manner in which teachers interact with and treat pupils in poverty, which can affect their education. In his study of pupil and teacher interactions, Becker, 1952, found that teachers devote more time to those closest to their ideal pupil. As students with the naughty label are perceived by teachers to not care about their education, teachers often neglect such children academically and instead focus on helping the well behaved children who they believe want to learn, which ultimately affects their attainment. In a similar study, Riss, 1970, also found the same outcomes. However, he adds that the students who were most likely to contract the label of bad were poorer working class children. On the contrary, some disagree with labelling theories, which indicate labels disadvantage children with an education. Horgan, 2007, proposes that labelling students serves to improve children's academic achievements as it opens up opportunity for extra provisions and funding towards bettering education for the disadvantaged. H.M. Treasury, 2008, adds that without labels, pupils would receive a lower quality of education, with less support and fewer resources available. In terms of education, the self-fulfilling prophecy explains how the labels teachers give to children play a powerful role in shaping the individual. They have the power to direct the children's identity development and construct their self-concept, how they see and define themselves, and how they interact with others. Irison and Hallam, 2009. As Bartlett and Burton, 2012, note, humans are constantly adapting their own identities and behaviour in order to suit the label they are assigned from those around them. Thus, ultimately, such labels have the power to affect children's attitudes towards school, their behaviour, and ultimately their level of achievement in education. The self-fulfilling prophecy, therefore, may aid the educational outcomes and personal developments of those who fit the image of the ideal pupil and contract positive identities. However, impoverished children who are ascribed negative identities are disadvantaged. When a pupil is labelled in a negative manner, such as naughty, rude, or disruptive, as children in poverty usually are, they most likely internalise the label and act accordingly, transforming into their label and displaying such negative behaviours. O'Brien, 2011. Not only does the display of bad behaviour create negative student-teacher relationships, but as studies show, it disrupts the child's learning, preventing concentration, and often results in missed learning opportunities due to the punishments for such behaviours. Jackson and Tinkler, 2007. Accordingly, teacher labelling serves to disadvantage the poor academically, as they cause children to develop identity traits which serve to disadvantage their school success. Additionally, children with low socioeconomic statuses are commonly given labels of incompetence or low achievement by teachers. Henry, 2015. They subsequently internalise this label and develop notably low perceptions of their competencies, self-sufficiency, and intelligence than high socioeconomic students. Ivick and Kaufman, 2013. Hence, once more, the likelihood of academic underachievement for children with a low socioeconomic status is increased. Although the notion of the self-fulfilling prophecy is widely recognised, it does come with some critiques from theorists such as Harlambus and Holborn, 2013, who argue that there is an assumption with insufficient evidence to suggest that once a label has been attached, then the individual will blindly follow with the corresponding behaviours. Fuller's 1984 study shows how, on many occasions, labelling has the opposite effect, and children, instead of simply conforming to the labels, are motivated to try harder to shed the label and prove the teachers wrong. The labels given to those in poverty by their peers can be extremely damaging in many ways. Thornburg, 2011, asserts that once stigmatised with negative labels, children are rejected by peers. He draws upon ethnographic findings to demonstrate how it is then almost impossible for these students to be freed of their negative label and their situation. Developing this idea, Hashim, 2015, explains how negatively labelled children not only face rejection, but are more often than not subject to bullying. Upon developing a negative label, children are placed by their peers outside the realms of what they consider to be a normal child, which makes them extremely susceptible to bullying from their peers as their differences are illuminated. And so, the labelling theory makes a clear link between the labels contracted by children in poverty and bullying as a result of segregation from their peers. Bullying, along with the aforementioned negative pupil-teacher relationships as a result of labelling, often means that children form negative associations with school. Wenzel and Looney, 2007, go on to explain that for children, school is one of the primary socialisation forces, and hence relationships within have the power to affect academic and social outcomes. Thus, he contends that having negative connotations with school due to adverse relationships within has a significant pernicious effect on children's academic achievement. In addition, it has also been found that positive interpersonal connections within the school environment undoubtedly benefits academic achievement in both boys and girls. Zainab 2010, Heimer et al. 2006. Which may be one reason why children with high socioeconomical status who obtain positive labels and develop good relationships with those in school gain higher grades when compared to children of low socioeconomical status. The act of bullying itself is also relevant in explaining underachievement, as significant links between school bullying and academic performance have been found by Buslad and Herold 2006. Their findings indicate that children who are victims of bullying are more likely to demonstrate poor academic outcomes. Such research, however, can be said to be inaccurate, as there are many factors that determine underachievement, and it is near impossible to isolate the factor of bullying and study only its impacts on educational achievement. Although the government have put an increasing number of policies into place over the years in attempt to close the attainment gap between children with a low socioeconomical status and children with a high socioeconomical status, a significant gap still persists. Fernstein 2000, Test 2000. There has been slight progress in closing the gap for disadvantaged pupils in England over the last decade. However, it has not been either fast or consistent. The current system is delivering change far too slowly. If the current rate continues, it will take approximately 50 years before the gap is closed and disadvantaged pupils finally achieve parity with their more affluent peers. Andrews et al. 2017. Presented on the poster are some of the main criticisms surrounding the most influential policies regarding poverty. In response to such criticisms below this section, I have also included some recommendations for future practice, which include the introduction of school policies which reflect a strong school ethos of denying stereotypes in creating schools with the absence of labelling, raising aspiration schemes in attempt to combat the societal labelling of low socioeconomic groups, and targeted teacher training to promote a drive in increasing the grades of children with a low socioeconomic status.